Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 48th episode of Sonic Talk. I am your host, Jason Berry, and with me, as always, is our co-host, Alex Peel. Say hi, Alex.
Hello.
And also with us is our reoccurring guest for the last,
He's
2
not
dozen episodes or so.
And
yeah, he's pretty much the third chair, of course, by now, and that is the Echidna.
And I am very proud to announce Sonic Talk's partnership with a softcore porn restaurant.
That's something I forgot to put in the notes.
Chris,
don't worry.
Why was I
won't let it pass.
About this? Why would we partner up with a softcore porn restaurant? I refuse to team up with any establishment that doesn't offer hardcore XXX nudity.
Oh, don't worry. They have good wings, though.
I don't care about wings. I care about the nudity. I want sexy people.
Anyway,
Alex cannot have his Sonic Talk podcast without thinking about the hardest of hardcore.
I wish people could have seen your face, Chris. Oh, man. I mean, technically, if anyone were watching, they could, but they're not, so, you know.
According to YouTube, we have 3 people watching right now.
Oh, crap. That means they saw all that? Shit.
About a third of our viewership, according to what I see in our YouTube videos, which we have like last one we had like 135 views.
And enough bitching about the viewership. We got to move on to what we've been playing.
All right, who wants to go first?
I guess I'll go first because you and I are probably going to tag team this, Jason.
Uh-oh.
So I'm in a position right now where this whole half of the month, basically this whole month has been, I cannot spend money because all of my monies are going to other things like big ticket items and Kickstarters. So I needed something to actually play that was going to be inexpensive or I already owned or whatever. So I opted to get Sonic Runner's Adventure. Now, Jason has kind of talked about it offline, but I'd like to go through the actual purchase process because I don't think you've made the stupid deal that needs to be made about this.
Yes, it is a pain in the neck.
So
I was going to bring it up on the show, but yes, it is a real huge pain in the butt to buy this game for your phone.
So here's what you have to do. Step 1, you have to have an Android phone because they don't have it for iOS.
Boo! I disapprove.
Don't feel bad yet, Alex. Step 2, you have to go on a website that's linking to it, or you have to Google it because it's not on the actual Google Play Store. By the way, Sonic Runner's Adventure is out, and I'm putting big air quotes around out. But after you've Googled it and found the page on the Gameloft website, which Gameloft is the actual developer for this game, you basically have to PayPal them $5 through this purchase page.
You have to PayPal the developers?
You have to PayPal the developers $5, and that will take you to a download for the APK pack, which you will download to the phone. Now, here's the thing to be aware. When I then tried to do that, when I went to try to go to the same page on my PC, it would not let me. It says, oh, this game is not available for this system because I guess I was on a Windows computer. I had to do it
that on my iPad.
On my Android phone, so I guess it could recognize that it was a freaking Android. So after I went through that, I got the APK. Then I had to go to my settings so that I could disable the protection against unregistered apps so that I could actually install an outside APK. Then finally, I was able to install the game. Now, Alex,
Sorry.
Have you ever played, you played Sonic Runners, correct? The original version?
I played the original on my iPad, yes.
So here's the question. Would you like a game that instead of it just being Sonic Runners, would you like it if it had no ads, cost $5, had no microtransactions whatsoever.
You could play it offline.
You could play it offline, but had absolutely no online whatsoever, and had a much, much slimmer selection of characters and upgrades.
I would be all over that.
I'd be all over that.
Yeah,
then if you ever decide to switch to Android, or if they ever decide to release this in some sensible way
on the iOS store, which is the only
way. Did they get the license for this with Sega? But Sega had like a lot of certain restrictions.
The only thing
in order to get this out there.
So here's the thing. The game is basically the same, except it has a lot less content, and it does not have a good style to it.
What do you mean by good style? You mean like
the graphics?
Character portraits?
The graphics are fine.
Okay.
It's just that the original Sonic Runners had a really nice, distinct style of a thick outline style, and everyone was kind of little short and super deformed and stuff like that. But this one is just straight up, I don't know, maybe they took assets out of Sonic Heroes, probably nicer than that, but I don't know. The character selection is pretty slimmed down. You can be 9 characters in 3 teams among 3 different styles. It's the same styles as it was before. You could be a runner, which has a triple jump. You could be a flyer, which has a limited time flight capability, and you can have a like a power character, which is super hard to control and just kind of jets forward for a little bit as your second double jump. Other than that, the whole premise of the game, if you did not play the original Sonic Runners, and currently cannot because it's been discontinued, basically the premise is it's a not quite infinite runner. It's kind of like a side-scrolling infinite runner. Kind of the best comparison I could make is something like Robot Unicorn Attack.
Well, there is one infinite level in each world, but it doesn't unlock until late into that world. There's, I think, 4 worlds altogether with like 25 plus levels.
Yeah,
I remember right?
Something close to that.
Does it basically play the same as the original?
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah,
all right, are there any points where there's just like a wall of enemies or something and you die, or because I know that was a problem with the original game that was pretty bullshit, but doesn't seem.
No, you just if you follow, as long as you can follow the trail of rings and it doesn't like trip you too much, you'll be okay. There is weird sections where, unlike the first game, it's suddenly you stop playing and it's automated. And you'll go through some springs, and the camera will change on this part, or you'll grind a rail and dodge. Dodge drills for some reason.
It's a lot like Sonic Adventure. It's a lot like Sonic Adventure, Sonic Adventure 2, where you hit the point where the game just becomes automated in order for it to be cinematic and show you a big flashy scene.
I actually kind of like that because it allows me to take a little bit of a break when especially if the game's getting a little too intense. And you're losing rings and having to continue by paying for it with more rings.
For me, the problem is that's just an indication that the level's too long, which the levels are too long in this game.
Oh,
I kind of agree with that too.
Well, this sounds like something I definitely spend $5 on.
I mean, the good thing, the best thing is if you want the characters, that were originally super hard to get in the first one, and you had to go through that extra red ring currency and that. That's all gone. It's all just the gold rings that you automatically collect in the game. I think you can get Shadow after playing like 2 levels worth because you'll have 2,000 rings by then easily.
You get the ultimate Hedgehog Edgelord, huh?
The problem is,
characters, buying power-ups, buying upgrades is very easy, and it's all done with the rings that you automatically collect in the game.
Jason.
Yes.
ABC,
Yes.
ABC. Always be chaotics.
So
because that is the theme for this game, because the chaotics are the one that just, once you update their special, it's like throwing it turns all these rings into 10 ring bonuses stuff. I like using the chaos.
I realized that when I was in Tails World. Now I was playing as Charmy Bee, and I noticed that Charmy Bee was collecting rings like crazy.
If you ever have a reason to play as Charmy Bee, which nobody ever has a reason to play as Charmy Bee, it would be this.
Or Knuckles Chaotix.
Sonic Sonic Runner's Adventure, the reason to place as Charmy Bee.
But I guess my biggest issue with this game is kind of the same issue that I had with the previous game, in that you have diverging paths, but other than that, there is really only one way to actually play the game, and it's just a matter of how well you're executing on the path that they establish for you, because you can't really... You can jump between paths on occasion, but it's really all about you're constantly following a trail of rings, and if you're not following that trail of rings, you're either not getting rings or you're getting hit by enemies. And for some people, that'd be fine. I mean, Sonic Dash is effectively just on a straight line, not giving you that much choice as well, but it is what it is. It's not really... It doesn't give you the sort of freedom to determine how you want to play the game as similar runner games do.
Huh.
Yeah, and it does have the thing where there's 3 stars to get on each stage, depending on 3 little missions you get on each stage. So at the very least, it has some replayability. You could get through the game with probably in about 4 or 5 hours easily. It's not too long. But there's 3-star up to 3-star quests to do on each stage, so at least it gives you that.
Like, the best thing about it is that it's competent. It's absolutely competent. I would say, as long as you don't hold $5 as some miraculous extravagant value for a mobile game, then it's fine. You'll get $5 out of it. But
I mean,
it's still kind of a mobile game. Like, it has all the hooks of the mobile game, except it just doesn't have the microtransaction aspects. So
it doesn't have the carrot. It doesn't have the carrot on the stick microtransaction thing, and unfortunately, that means it also doesn't have any of the seasonal modes. So you won't get a Halloween theme or a Christmas theme or anything like that.
And you don't get a little flying Genesis.
Oh.
And the other problem is, since you had to get it off a website and not onto the Google Play Store, there's no way to update this game. Once you get it, that's the only version you get.
I think it's probably safe to say that they may not have that much intention to up. I've kind of been running through my head why exactly they would release it that way, and kind of the only theories I can think of are it got leaked at some point and they're just deciding to cut their losses, or they felt like it wasn't going to fit into some sort of business plan that they could realistically work with, and they're deciding to cut their losses, or for some reason there's something about it or something in it that is preventing them from going on the App Store.
Didn't they release Sonic Forces Speedrun in a similar fashion to this?
Sonic Forces, it's not out yet.
It probably isn't. Anyway. Honestly, I guess the other aspect would be Sega saying, "Don't release this yet," or "We've decided we don't want you to release this in any regular way because we have other things going up."
Yeah, because the Sonic game market, if you include mobile, it's kind of crowded right now in the second half of 2017.
So it could be that if I want to play this game, I'm going to have to go out of my way to get an Android device and essentially download this thing as like some barely legal APK off a website.
I mean, Alex, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to level with you. If you played Sonic Runners, you basically got everything that this game is offering.
Well, the problem is I never got to beat Sonic Runners. And
you don't beat Sonic Runners. It was
there's a story mode, isn't there? A shitty story mode that I never got to see the end of.
Yeah, we should say that this story mode is a lot less ridiculous than Sonic.
Let me put it this
way. Which is actually kind of disappointing because it's not ridiculous, it's not memorable at all. It's just, Eggman's up to something, we better chase him down.
It doesn't feel like it was written by the worst intern in Sega, and it's short. It doesn't go on for dialogue and dialogue over and over as Sonic, with absolutely no personality whatsoever, talks to all of these small animals, even though the small animals don't actually talk. I don't fucking know.
I might just ignore this game now. That's
It's fine. It's fine. Just it's the same game. You 100% know what you'd be getting yourself into. The story is not important in any of them. You're not missing anything. It's not actually good. It's serviceable for them to have something, I guess.
I mean, it sounds like you could just as easily just download the APK illegally, and not that I would do something like that, because I don't have an Android device that is easy for me to play.
I mean, heck,
these kinds of games on.
You could probably, if you found a way to buy it from their site from a PC, I don't know, maybe there's some Android PC emulators that would run it.
Well, maybe you could access their website through an Android PC emulator.
The only other thing I will say, just because I tried it and it might be valuable information to someone, is that I found it does not work with Bluetooth gamepads.
Huh. I wonder if it would work with the my NVIDIA Shield. I assumed I just have to use the touchscreen, which would feel kind of awkward on that thing.
Anyway, as far as anything else I've been playing, that was a long little preview there. I'm gonna skip Destiny 2 because every single podcast in the world has talked about that.
Yay!
Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. I'm a big Marvel vs. Capcom fan, and I've been playing that since the beginning, since X-Men vs. Street Fighter even. And this one is kind of the most disappointing. Sadly, it's got good gameplay to it. I like the fact that you can use the Infinity Stones as an attack and a special attack. That's very cool. My main problems is it uses a story mode for its main story, which is really goofy.
Oh, God.
And the characters have absolutely no expression on their face when they're talking to other people.
So it's like that Shenmue 3 teaser trailer?
Yeah, it's kind of like that Shenmue 3 teaser trailer.
Oh my God.
But they motion capture the people going, "Hey, look at you, buddy," and he's talking to him, but his eyes are just dead. He just has these dead eyes. But also the character roster, particularly on the Marvel part, is really weak this time around because they focused on the Marvel movie universe and not like the X-Men and Fantastic Four. You to get no Doctor Doom, no Deadpool, no Wolverine, no Magneto.
The moment I heard there were no mutants, including Deadpool and Wolverine, I was like, okay, I've lost 50% of my interest in this game.
I mean, let's be 100% honest. That's Disney blacklisting Fox. That is fine. You don't want to play ball with us, or we want this property back. We're just going to do everything we can to make you want to get rid of it.
I really wish they were
stupid, because that ends up ruining the property completely. I mean, I wish they would just at least buy back Fantastic Four. It couldn't cost that much, considering the last 3 movies they tried bombed.
Well, I think that now that comic book movies are such big business, Fox doesn't want to let go of anything, no matter how badly it bombs. Which is such a shame, because Fantastic Four, I think, could work really well in the MCU. But
I will say, Gamora plays pretty decently in this. They're based off their comic book look instead of their movie look, at least. But the other thing is, their models are ridiculous. I mean, Captain America, even Spider-Man are and even Rio are super buffed, like they're He-Man action figures. Captain America has no neck whatsoever. It's just a head attached to his shoulders.
So what? It's basically Rob Liefeld's Captain America?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, Hulk's the only one who... Hulk and Iron Man look the most normal. Because Hulk, of course, always has big muscles, and Iron Man has his, skinny. But Ryu has really big muscles, but his shirt makes him, for some reason, goes round around him, so it looks kind of fat. And I hate the way Captain America's suit looks. Plus, like I said, is just a head on top of a ginormous shoulders. It's Spider-Man. Spider-Man, who's supposed to be really skinny, is super buff in this.
Yeah.
And the only other thing is it's already got DLC out the door, and what pisses me off is there are characters that are in the story mode that you can't play because they're under the DLC. And that includes Black Panther, who I love Black Panther, and I'd be glad to be able to play as him, and one of the Monster Hunters. And Monster Hunter is one of my favorite Capcom series, so that really pisses me off too.
This is an example of a game potentially actually removing content for DLC.
No, this is an example of Capcom.
Well, they already did that
bullcrap that they did with Street Fighter V, that they just can't seem to get their business side and their programming side together, and they can't seem to they can't wrap their head around how a story mode needs to work in the same way that it has developed for franchises like the DC fighting games. And
oh my God, yes. If you want a great
story mode.
If you want a great story mode plus a very addicting game that constantly rewards you with new costume parts and new colors and keeps you wanting to play and play, get DC Injustice 2. It is a fantastic 2D fighter. It is my 2D fighter of the year, and that one's spectacular. But this one is massively disappointing so far. I'll probably buy it when it gets to a Game of the Year version where all the DLC is available.
Because you know there will be one.
Yeah, because that happened with Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. In fact, Marvel vs. Capcom 3, when it first came out on PS3, sorry, I moved my mic. That had on-disc DLC as well. I don't know if this one has on-disc DLC or not, but there was characters that were locked, that were playable, that were on the disc that just needed an unlock key where you had to pay for the.
Oh boy!
And I'm not sure, 100% sure if this is the case, but I mean the models are already in the cutscenes, so that kind of ticks me off.
I'm looking at the chat here, and Klexioshi is kind of confirming for me any possible reason I might care about this game at all is effectively dead, because he said no Amaterasu, no Beautiful Joe, and no Phoenix Wright.
No Phoenix Wright even.
Right. Those are
and another thing is arcade mode. If you beat all 8 fighters and boss in arcade mode, there isn't an individual story ending. Even DC Universe is big. I mean, DC Infinite, as big of a story mode as they have, if you play arcade mode in there, there is an individual story ending for each character.
What do you mean by
here?
DC
There's not.
Infinite?
It just says you win, and that's it.
Oh my God!
Somebody's been echoing, by the way. Are you using your headphones, Alex?
Yeah, I'm using my headphones. Why?
I'm hearing an echo.
Well, I don't think that's me. Okay. Let me.
Yeah, I don't know if I mentioned, but this one I just rented from Redbox. I didn't purchase it, so it was just a rental.
Yeah.
Was there anything else you wanted to discuss, Alex, before we go into news?
Well, I mean, there was the games I've been playing. I've been focusing on, much like Chris, I haven't really been buying new games this month. Instead, I've been playing old ones. Final Fantasy 15 is the one I'm playing right now. Quite literally, actually.
How is that old?
Okay, games I've had for a little while.
It's been out a couple months. I think at this point you could
Final
justify calling it old.
Final Fantasy 15 came out last November. It's not a recent. It's not a new game. It's
okay.
And let me put it this way, Jason. In the context of this month, where we've had Mario and Rabbids and Metroid, and heck, Golf Story and Nintendo arcade games came out today.
Oh boy.
There were the lead off on one of the Nintendo sites I go to was basically, hey, Nintendo has a system where 20 games were released today. Also, the SNES Classic released.
Anyway, so I've been playing 2 games I've had for a little while. Zelda Breath of the Wild, Final Fantasy 15. Final Fantasy 15 is a game I just stopped playing 7 months ago or something. and I finally had a chance to get back into it. And it's really weird going from Breath of the Wild to this game because they are so different. Final Fantasy 15. It's in a weird way a much more limiting game because you can't climb on anything. You have to pursue the storyline in a very linear, in a very linear down one path fashion. And even though it's a big game, you can't really travel around the expansive map as easily. And yet it's still both games are still loads of fun and great examples of what you can do with an open world environment. And I honestly don't really have that much else to say about them aside from the fact that Final Fantasy 15, as it turns out, this is not something I experienced when I played the game back in the day, but the moment I went into Chapter 5, which is what I guess finished, the game has this weird balancing issue now where it just drops these level 47 assassins on top of you constantly. And these guys, they just cut through your character's health in a single swing. And I've essentially, in order to fight these things, and when I'm trying to, when they drop on me, I'm trying to accomplish some side quest or something, I just had to buy a whole load of potions and take one every 5 seconds to keep myself, because they drop me with every single swing that they give me.
The weird thing about what you're saying here, Alex, is that I've actually heard someone else on a podcast describe the situation that you're experiencing, and it makes me wonder if, based on what you're saying, could this issue have been in one of their many patches? Could this have not been the case whenever it was originally being reviewed, and then whenever it was patched, this began to happen? Because the person that also was discussing this only just recently played the game as well.
That is certainly what I'm wondering, because I haven't played this game in 7 months, partially because I wanted to give them time to essentially complete it. I kept hearing all these rumblings about how chapter, I think, was it 13 or 14, wasn't had an incomplete story, and so I just thought I'd give them some time to fix all this stuff up before pressing on. And I don't remember getting attacked by these enemies so constantly when I first played the game back in December. So maybe it might. I wouldn't be surprised if it was some weird patch thing. But regardless, it's a silly issue that borderline almost broke the game for me. Thankfully, this game, it plays a lot like Kingdom Hearts. And one great thing about Kingdom Hearts is if you have enough potions and healing, and if you're just skilled enough, you can actually defeat enemies that are much stronger than you. Because you can run around the playfield and you can dodge them and stuff, and so there's a little more skill involved. You don't just stand there and your characters just have to take it in a turn-based fashion. And so it didn't. And so thankfully, I was able to figure something out that kept the game from just becoming outright broken to me. But it's still an issue that I really wish they would have fixed by now, or they'll hopefully fix in the future. On the bright side, though, after I figured out how to kill those damn things, I am leveling up like gangbusters. It's a lot easier to level up now than it was before.
Who knows? Maybe whenever this game hits Switch, because God, do they probably need to make their money back on it?
Yeah. It is kind of interesting the kinds of games the Switch is getting lately. I hope it manages to get Final Fantasy 15 too. That'd be kind of cool.
I mean, we're already talking. There's already been the rumors stated that now that
Doom and Wolfenstein 2 are coming to the Switch.
Doom, Wolfenstein,
which
LA
just blows
Noire,
my
and
mind.
coming on the heels of LA Noire is Grand Theft Auto 5, which
Wait, Grand Theft Auto 5 was announced? When that
No,
happened?
it wasn't announced. It's just rumored right now.
Okay, all
But
right.
I guess it's from going by my very quick look at RSS feeds. It's the rumor from a same source that leaked the LA Noire one.
Oh, nice. That I hope that happens. I would probably get that. But like I will say, like, you know, Jason, we've both played Doom. Like, that's a very technologically impressive game.
Yes, that's what I'm so excited for that, because that is something that is, you know, that's something that can normally only be done on a high-end PC on a PS4. Now, I know, of course, they're downscaling it quite a bit. It's going to be 30 frames a second, and, you know, it's not going to be technically as nice looking, but the fact that you can play, you know, that particular Doom on a system where you can, that's portable, which you can go out, is just amazing.
That being said,
and that opens the floodgates too for other third parties not having really an excuse for putting their, you know, games on Switch while just putting them on PS4 and Xbox One.
Certainly, like Activision and other and EA no longer have excuses with their Battlefield and Call of Duty games. Although, in fairness, it did make a very scalable engine, which is apparently one of the big reasons why Square is struggling with Final Fantasy 15, because their engine wasn't made to be as scalable, apparently, from what they've been saying. And on top of that, this is a huge, massive, gorgeous, technically demanding game that takes like 4 minutes to load whenever you want to move to a new area. So, like, if Square does manage to bring the full game to the Switch, that's going to be a hell of a feat.
Yeah, I kind of doubt that. I also kind of doubt on Call of Duty, because Call of Duty, I mean, Doom, it's primarily a single player mode. So 30 frames a second in single player, as long as it's smooth, is plenty doable. Where Call of Duty is primarily a multiplayer game where you pretty much have to be at 60 frames a second because of the incredibly fast speeds.
Well, Call of Duty, the game, the engine that they're using now, I believe I read that same engine was actually used for the last gen version of the games not too long ago, like it was, I think, 2 years ago or something. But I don't know. Regardless, I'm done talking about what I've been playing.
All right, let's head on to the news. Some more Sonic Forces news came out of the Tokyo Game Show. First thing was discussed. They showed the classic, a brand new classic Sonic level called Casino Forest, which had pretty good music. We're going with a little bit this time, because it actually had hills and ramps, which have been missing.
It had
everything else.
This is like the first new level we've gotten since Green Hill back in April, and I think
as far as classic Sonic goes, yes.
Well, no, like, okay, not counting the tag team thing, which you can barely even call that a level, honestly. But it's like the first like full-fledged new level for one of the three big play modes in the game, and it certainly does demonstrate more complex level design and terrain. You know, the kind of thing you'd expect from a level that takes place later in a Sonic game. You know, there's multiple paths. There's things that bounce off of and stuff. For me, like, the weirdest thing about this whole level, and I don't know if this is just specific to the demo that they had, I hope it is, but it completely lacks any enemies.
Right, it's
completely not something I've ever seen in a Sonic game before.
There's no objective stopping you from getting to the end of the level, pretty much.
Well, no, there are things. Yeah.
Because this level is so very much Casino Night Zone, and Casino Night Zone had one enemy in the whole thing. Like,
wait,
that,
what?
Casino Night Zone had one single enemy. It was the crab that also had the bumper as a shield. Yeah, but
there were like a bunch of them, though.
No, there were not.
Wait,
no,
really?
No, absolutely not.
I
That
could have sworn it was
that
like
stage was
7,
almost
8.
completely devoid of enemies.
Huh. I need to go back and play that game. Play that level. Apparently, I've completely forgotten about that.
Yeah, 'cause
I will
that's
say one of the
that's
first
what I'm
levels
looking at
where-
whenever I'm seeing it. Is I'm seeing this. I mean, honestly, this is Casino Night. All the stuff in it is Casino Night stuff.
I mean,
it looks like they
it's
ripped
every.
it out of a Generations game, but made it HD because it's not on 3DS, and made it, hey, what if Casino Night but Forest? Because
I wouldn't say
we don't have any other good ideas for level design,
wouldn't
so
say
let's take
it
these
is-
other two and put them together in an inelegant way.
I wouldn't say it is Casino Night. It is literally. Let me talk. It is. I'm basically agreeing with you, but not quite. It is literally every pinball level that we've had in every game in the last 15 years.
This is very, very specifically Casino Night, right down to the types of gimmicks in it, right down to the bouncing green, yellow, red bumpers. Like, it's down to Casino Night in that you get down to, you have the little plungers that you have to pull back and launch. This thing is hell of Casino Night.
All right.
the one thing that kind of disturbs me, like, and this is something I was going to bring up to begin with, is the physics on the classic Sonic feel to me
no,
feel
you don't
really
know how
off on
they feel.
this.
You don't know how they feel because you haven't played the game.
Well, I mean, if you look at like Sonic Mania compared to this, when he's going up a hill, it looks like he's about to go in the middle, and so all of a sudden, like almost magnetically, he'll stick to the wall and go around into a ball into the areas.
There were like two brief instances of this in both videos that you can point to in regards to this.
I mean, it also
it's very hard to discern
to show you an example. There's one area where
from that.
In one video he runs down a slanted area and just falls while he's running, and his momentum keeps him going forward. Where in another one he rolls in a ball as he's going down that ramp, and he automatically, as soon as that cliff happens, he automatically goes down the cliff and hugs the wall down to the end. So, and it's just this. It's been happening with modern Sonic to me. I've seen for a while where it's that there's this artificial physics feeling that never existed, of course, in the 2D. But I mean, that's been normal for a while. But I mean, even more so for me than Sonic Adventure. But it's okay with as much. It's not as bad with modern Sonic as you're dealing with boosts now. And it's a different style of gameplay than classic Sonic has ever had. But when they go back to classic Sonic and it just has this weird feeling to its momentum, it kind of just bothers me. And it's worrying me about when it's released.
Okay, first and foremost, how did you feel about classic Sonic in Generations?
This feels different from. I mean, just this looks different from.
Okay, that's the big issue I have with your concern right now. Obviously, I think to an extent you can maybe express some concern, but I think that the response to the look of this is a little bit overblown. I think that you can't really judge this until you actually get a hands-on. I don't know. Maybe that was a fluke. Maybe for some, because that was from the IGN footage, correct?
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was a fluke. I don't know if that was a pre-release issue. Hopefully by now it isn't a pre-release issue. I don't know what build they could have been going off of. I also know that anything that you look at with Sonic has to exist within the context of the actual game. I don't think that you can just say, well, this is broken, because that's the type of thing people were doing with Sonic 4. Sonic 4's physics were not good. They did not emulate it, but the way that Sonic played made some amount of sense with the world that they designed for him. I'm not saying that Sonic 4 was the greatest game. I still like Sonic 4, and I don't mind the fact that it's different, but I'm not willing to say, well, this is a problem without actually knowing if it's a problem or not.
I'm not saying it's a problem. I'm saying it's just a concern for me.
Okay.
Thank you, Chris. Like, you said everything I would ever want to say. Let me just add a little bit. Jason, you like Sonic 4, right? Like, I recall you being pretty happy.
Yeah,
with
it's
those
all right.
games.
I like Sonic 4-2 better because,
but
I think
that game weren't better. They were basically the same.
Yeah.
And I like Sonic 4.
I still didn't care that much for the physics in Sonic 4.
Well, yeah, but the game itself was fun. Now with classic, sorry, Chris, go.
I was just going to say, the one thing I do want to establish, though, is that going off in some defense of Jason, it is just, the problem is not this single point. The problem is not, well, this is wrong, or it has this style of gameplay.
Well, there's several things I could discuss about.
It doesn't. It feels more like this is just one small potential point in a sky full of points against this game. And yes. I think that it's not that this game is suffering from the wrong physics or just bad level design in a single level or going back to Small Sonic. It's the accumulation of all these issues that do make it legitimately concerning whenever it's released. Yes, I would very much like to feel better about this game, but as someone who has resigned himself to buy it, I don't necessarily feel excited about it. And I felt excited about Lost Worlds. And we know how that turned out. I felt excited about Sonic Boom before that was released, knowing exactly how people felt about it.
I will say this about the game in general, is that like about when they started showing the tag team gameplay at the end of August, or like I've been starting to get a bad feeling about this game, because there are things that are building up. Like, we got the story. Are we discussing the story trailer?
If you want, sure.
Okay,
you can do that.
Let's just integrate that into this, because I don't see it on the list anyway. But we got a story trailer recently, and the storyline is like looking like this sort of grimy, kind of dark, like Sonic 06 type thing, which I don't want. I don't think that fits Sonic especially well. And now maybe like the trailer is just emphasizing certain dark parts of the game that like won't be as emphasized in the final product, but it makes me a little worried. And the Avatar gameplay, its jumping mechanics are crap. I mean, Jason and I agree on this.
It's got that like normally if you're jumping, if your momentum's going forward, if you press back, you'll slow down. And here, if you press back, you'll go the opposite direction, and it makes it feel really off. Especially, well, we discussed this before in our own hands-on.
And Hogfather, he played the demo like just a week ago, and it still has that same goddamn problem with the jumping. Now, it could be the same build as that. We don't know. But still, it's there. And on top of that, yes, the levels we've seen, they've been short. Some of them have been bite-sized, even. Like
can I say something? Every time we see a preview of a Sonic game and we have concerns, a lot of people always bring up, well, it's an early build. It might be fixed when it comes out. And it never is.
Well, I wouldn't say it never is, but certainly like the bigger issues, especially when it came to games like Sonic 06, that shit didn't get fixed.
Yeah, and the one thing that's been concerning me since we first saw Green Hill Classic Sonic, and it was just even flatlands, like it was almost Sonic Runners. And I was hoping, well, I back that's an early level, that might not be a big deal, but every level since has had nothing but these flat.
Well, here's the thing:
plain levels without much exploration to them, and no ramps, no jumps. We've
barely seen any levels. Like, we have seen Green Hill, we have seen Sunset Valley, we have seen a little bit from ancient casino forest, whatever, and the pyramid zone. Like for the pyramid zone, we got what looks like just a small smidgen of what they're actually probably going to do with that stage. And from what we've seen, like I think Casino Night is the first thing that looks like something from later in the game because it looks more complex. And I think that I've been thinking for a while now that the reason why so many of these levels seem so bite-sized is because this is taking a similar route to Sonic Colors. Now, do we all remember what Sonic Colors did?
Yeah, but even Sonic Colors, a lot of those levels lasted 2 to 3 minutes. It's only when you got to the map, and there were certain levels where they would be very, very short because you're on a big world map. And
Sonic
they would
Colors,
they're basically taking the exact same levels and putting them on the map and taking the assets and cutting them up to different, levels themselves.
Sonic
That's why they were 1 to 2 minutes.
Sonic Colors would typically have one major level per world, and then usually a bunch of other smaller worlds, often with much more simplistic geography and level design.
Yeah, but that's the issue, is I haven't seen a level or played a level of the Sonic Forces so far that has been any more than 2 minutes, really, and that's another worrying thing.
But when it comes to short levels, like really, in terms of modern Sonic, we've really only seen Sunset Valley, and Sunset Valley, like it kind of reminds me of a Patos and Green Hill, which were also pretty short stages that didn't really offer much in the way of multiple paths.
Well, Apatos, the first time he played through it, it was at least 5 minutes from what I remember.
I think that the real thing that we have to tap into here is that Sega just has not shared that much with us, and I think there's potential reason to be concerned that they have not shown us a lot that we might expect them to, that we have seen very little about it. We don't have a good sense of how much there is to this game, especially considering that it has a $40 price point MSRP, which is very unusual.
If I'm wrong about this following the Sonic Colors model, there being like a whole bunch of stages, and that's why individually so many of them are so short. If I'm wrong, then this could be a pretty shit game. Like, even if modern Sonic and classic Sonic are acceptable.
I mean, the biggest thing that we haven't really gotten any good sense of is how do the levels work with the 3 different gameplay forms, because we know that some of them, we know there will be stages for modern Sonic. We know there will probably be some stages for classic Sonic. We saw one of them. We know that there will be stages for the creative character and then some opportunities for the creative character to join with another form of Sonic. But how the gameplay is actually structured, is it going to be like Generations where each world has one version and then another version, or does it have one version and then 2 other versions? We still know so little about this game, and it seems a little strange. Is it November?
Yeah, but we got 2 months. We got a month, less than a month and a half before this game comes out, and we're still a lot and we don't know about it.
We still potentially have time then. Mario itself didn't really have its blowout until the month before. So Sega still kind of has its opportunity, and it might be better for them to wait until after Mario has died down a bit.
But between Mario and Sonic is like a week or 2.
It is.
A week and a half, I think. But they can't just compress all of their marketing into that week and a half.
I think
that'd be a horrible idea.
They could compress a lot of it into just a week and a half, depending on how they want to show. Even if it's something along the lines of, we're going to show you one new thing each of these days. Maybe we'll show you how this wisp is used. Maybe we'll show you a new level theme. Maybe we'll explain how the levels work. Plus, we still do have plenty of time.
I remember like less than a week ago, I was complaining to you about how Sega was marketing this game and like how they were not showing a damn thing. Like between E3 and that complaint, they'd only shown one new level, and that was specifically to show a new gameplay mode that is apparently quite shallow, which we'll get into later.
Well, this is the thing. Is, this
no,
is
we can get into
very...
that right now because we're gonna since we're on Sonic Forces right now, we might as well discuss that because we were talking on the last episode about that tag mode and whether you switch automatically or you switch by a button, and it is automatically, and if you don't press the button when you do that fist bump thing, nothing happens. They trip for a second, and you still get the big boost.
I can't wait to hear Chris finish this thought first.
Okay, go ahead.
I was just going to say, the biggest problem with Sonic Forces was and continues to be the fact that Sonic Mania released this year. Sonic Mania is, unfortunately, the bigger deal. It will 100% be the better seller.
And the better, and it's almost certainly going to be the better game too, unless they
almost certainly.
Yeah,
let's do a lot to fix that avatar.
That's something I've discussed since E3 when you and me and Sven had this podcast together. Having Mania and Forces out on the same year really damages Forces. Where if they had released it when there was no other Sonic games coming out, there would have been much more hype for this game than there is right now.
I think part of the problem is that Mania wasn't even a thing until early last year, and they probably Sonic Team probably didn't think it was going to be as huge of a big of a success as it was when they approved it. So
the other problem is we haven't had an actual legit Sonic game in a couple of years, like
2013.
We've spent all this time. That's the biggest question that whenever I look at Sonic Forces versus the last Sonic game, it's like we've had runners, which we know Sonic Team did or was heavily involved with. And then we had all this Sonic Boom stuff, which I'm sure Iizuka had a hand in to make sure that things were not exploding, even though they were.
I don't know how else we're going to say that.
It makes me kind of look at this and ask, what were they doing? What were they doing since Lost World?
I guess they were just working on that character creator. That's all I can think of.
I mean, and that's the weird part, because it's actually been more restricted in Iizuka's response to actually looking at how people create Sonic characters.
No echidnas, man. I still can't get over that. I want my echidnas.
Yeah, it's really weird how limited the animal species is for to create a character.
I know why there are no echidnas, but still, I want echidnas.
Well, that's true. There's a plot significant reason, but it's also to make sure that they don't get sued by Ken Penders.
Oh,
you see, Ken Penders owns the concept of an echidna. He has that registered with Australia.
He doesn't own the concept of an echidna. He owns Sega's concept of an echidna, because echidnas don't have any of Knuckles' features. Well, okay, aside from the sharp claws, but aside from that.
All right, and more good news on Sonic Forces. We found out that the Steam version of Sonic Forces will have Denuvo.
Weren't we going to talk about... Okay, after Denuvo, let's talk about the tag team. Okay. So,
I thought we did talk about the tag team.
Well, you briefly mentioned it, but I want to get back to Chris's thought before we really went into it.
All right.
Because we did. There are more things to discuss from the preview.
Well, I guess that one of the other complaints about that is so far every demo has seemed super easy to complete, and the tag team one is no real different.
Yeah. Hogfather, otherwise known as Dave, wrote up a preview on Sonic Stadium about Sonic Forces, and it was very critical of the game, but it's worth reading, I think. But one thing he was able to play that we couldn't was the tag team gameplay, and as Jason said earlier, he was able to discern things from his playthrough that we couldn't see from the video, including just how shallow it is. Right, Jason?
Right. And I mean, just watching it, and even before you get to the pyramids, you are just going running in a straight line, just jumping over. There's just like one big platform you jump over, and that's it. And you've got this grid of rings that you can't avoid to collect before you end up doing that speed boost, which for some reason rapidly tapping the button absolutely does not matter at all. So it's almost just plays itself the entire time before you get into the
well, as I understand
clockwork of the pyramid.
As I understand it from the preview, like the first bit before the boost was like a standard modern Sonic fare. Then after that we had some automated play. At least
Right.
going by what, but one interesting thing that apparently Sega discussed at the Tokyo Game Show while he was writing his preview was that you can actually switch between the characters wherever you want, but the level design is still basically designed to accommodate one character or the other. So like the first half is Sonic, the second half is the Avatar. And while you could switch between them whenever you want, according to Sega, Hogfather didn't actually find this in the demo while he was playing, there's really no reason to. And apparently like you can still activate Sonic's boost or something while you're in the Avatar part of the level and boost off of the clock gear platforms. I don't know how he did that, but apparently it happened. So it just sounds like it's either shallow or a mess or both. And the actual like Avatar part of the game is also apparently quite linear. Like the only alternate paths can only be accessed through the wisps. You know, like you use the yellow wisp to light speed dash and the red wisp to I forget. But
the red wisps are bursts. And
yeah,
that helps you just kind of almost fly through the level as you're grabbing the more burst wisps. Where the other one is cube, and they said, and I agree just by looking at it, the cube must be the most boring because basically you get a group of enemies, you hit cube, it turns them into cubes, and you collect their rings, and then you just keep going forward. But
so,
you can't do any tricks with that.
And for the record, Hogfather wasn't the only one who didn't like this. Sven, our boss from Sonic Stadium, got to play it a couple weeks earlier, and he also didn't like it. He also said it was just it was too simplistic, you know. Which that's like when you have to say that about a Sonic game, hopefully this isn't a major part of the game. Otherwise, I'll be a little worried.
I'm a little worried. They're focused. It seems like this one's focusing on more for the kids and the Sonic X fans more than the, regular or. Well, of course, it's not going to be for the classic fans, but there are good modern Sonic games out there, and this one seems to be more focused on for kids than for the full fan base.
In a weird way, it's almost like it's a direct response to Sonic Mania. It's like, okay, you got this super duper retro classic Sonic game. Now we're just gonna make something super duper modern that's something that the fans of the other game will not want at all.
That's. I'm going to push back on that a little bit.
I probably went a little too far with that. I agree.
Well, I'm going to push back because I kind of noticed a trend from Sonic Generations on that they started to have a better grasp on how they're using their nostalgia and kind of how they're doing world building from that point. And if you look at how they went from Generations to Lost Worlds, I look at Lost Worlds, and even though I didn't actually like a lot of what that game was doing, one of the things I really did kind of like about it is that it had a firmer grasp on how to use the nostalgia.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
I look at this and I think, well, it's a little bit more clumsy on using the nostalgia stuff, but they are still very clearly using some of it because, like I said, that is hell of Casino Night. So
Not to mention the Green Zone in the Sonic game for the 500th time.
it's a weird thing. It's a weird thing because Izuka kind of talks out both sides of his mouth whenever he does. Well, I shouldn't say that. He says one thing, but things don't necessarily turn out as he describes. And the example I always point to in this case is Sonic Unleashed. Sonic Unleashed was a game where he went through and put in the werehog because the kids liked it. If you frickin' play Sonic Unleashed, that game ain't for kids playing.
Those werehog stages can be hard.
Not even the
probably
werehog
the
stages.
hardest modern Sonic game.
The speed
ever.
stages were frickin' hard.
Oh yeah,
The
especially
fact
the
that you
Eggman
had to get all these weird collectibles was bizarre. Like there's nothing I look at that and I say, well, this was designed for kids in mind, aside from the fact that it has a werewolf who is Sonic.
You know, I completely forgot about those.
Izuka originally said Sonic Colors was made for kids in mind when he originally said that, and I still love that game. That game is, but also that game is fairly balanced. It's challenging near the end, but not too hard.
I think whenever he looks at this type of thing, and obviously Sonic Forces could be the exception to what has been a trend. But I think he likes to make a type of character and type of world that is very much appealing to kids, but the level design and the game design does not always follow suit with that. I think that he still designs those games as he is interested to designing them.
From what I understand, isn't this the same team that worked on Colors instead of the team that normally worked on Sonic Generations or Sonic Unleashed?
As far as I know, it like the two teams aren't separate anymore.
Oh, okay.
I don't think they are anyway.
All right.
I'd have to do some research on that because it's been a little while since I've.
Okay, we've been talking like crazy about Sonic Forces, but we do have one more piece of Sonic Forces news, and that that's just the. Well, we mentioned the Denuvo. Does anybody really want to respond about the Denuvo?
We kind of talked about it whenever we talked about Sonic Mania. I mean, it's unfortunate. I think it's not a great thing for them to be doing, especially with Denuvo not being great for customers and also able to be cracked. They're
already modding Sonic Mania, aren't they?
Yep.
I think I've seen some mods.
The only thing I can think of is if they have some sort of weird agreement with Denuvo that is helping them on top of whatever DRM is associated with Steam. So who knows? It was probably a decision that the developers didn't make. It was probably some decision that Sega Business made.
Well, at least we know like a few months beforehand instead of after the game comes out, like with Mania. Another little interesting thing that came out of this, though, was that apparently Hardlight Studios is working on the PC version. Like, I couldn't find out in what capacity. They haven't talked about it, but they're listed on the Steam page.
I mean, if it's just a port, it's just a port. I mean, for all we know, they could be the people behind trying to port the Hedgehog engine 2 over to PC for some reason, or something similar to that, making sure that it works with.
So the final piece of Forces news
is I'd say this is a good. I'm not a big fan of this character, but there's a lot of people who are. So I'm going to consider this very good news, and that's that Shadow the Hedgehog will be a playable character in Sonic Forces and get his own 3-level adventure pack that he can play as.
And so far as
a prequel story,
that's a good thing. I think
that is a good thing.
I think that Shadow the Hedgehog should have been played in Generations. Like, I don't get why he wasn't. But although I will say the one stage they showed off, this is what got me thinking that this might be a Sonic Colors type situation, because that simplistic stage that they showed off that was like done in 40 seconds looks just like one of those looks just like one of those smaller Sonic Colors stages,
and more flat platforms all over the place. But I did like One thing I really did like about that stage is Shadow has a kind of a like how Sonic has the collecting the rings. And, I forget the name of it already. Where you get the rings and you go through Lightspeed Dash. He has a Lightspeed Dash, only he attacks enemies with it, and it looks really cool when he does it. And I dig that. But otherwise, it just looks like another flat platform stage without much to it.
I really do hope
just one of 3 stages that you get in that level.
I really do hope there's at least one substantive stage in this game. Like, I get this is free.
Yeah, well, I don't think that was the full stage that they showed. I think that was a cut. It definitely looked like it was cut off right at the beginning.
Oh, okay. So
that's not the full stage that we saw for that Shadow stage.
Why do they keep cutting off these stages off at the beginning? They did the same thing with Casino Forest. Huh.
Because they have no freaking idea how to market this. Their idea of marketing is, hey, let's post the music on YouTube. Like, that's the extent of what we're looking at. Let's not show the levels. Let's show everyone that, hey, for the theme song, we got the guy from Hobostank, because that's important.
But as someone who enjoyed Sonic Adventure 2, who has some nostalgic attachment to Shadow the Hedgehog and has a niece who really liked him back when she was a kid, I am happy to see that he's finally back and playable in a game, and I hope this isn't the last we see of him.
I'll play as Shadow. I mean, why not? I don't hate him. I think that he's used poorly in most games. I think that it's a little bit better now that they've dropped the pretense of him being this character with backstory and intensity.
Yeah, that's my biggest problem with Shadow the Hedgehog is he's gone from being an anti-hero to basically an asshole. They always write him as a humongous asshole.
He has become Sonic's anime rival.
He's become Sasuke.
Well, to be fair, Sasuke has a lot of baggage. Sasuke is
without any of the sympathetic background character to him.
Maria got gunned down right before his eyes, Chris. Do you have no sympathy for him? That's baggage.
I don't in this iteration of him, because that version of Shadow is decade back. Like that literally that version of Shadow has been gone for a decade because Sonic 06 is more than a decade old.
Yeah, Sonic 06 was really destructive to the franchise. But this also gets me excited for the possibilities of episodes of other characters, like episode of Knuckles, or
now could this be why the game is $40? Is that we're going to get like episodic DLC of the different characters later on?
But if episode of Big, no, I'm kidding. But if they do that,
I would love an episode of Big.
They better have better stages than that Shadow stage. I get it was only part of it apparently, but still, I want something a little more substantive. I'm gonna have to pay for it.
I don't think they're above the idea for DLC. I just don't think that. I think that the way that they've positioned this game in terms of marketing, in terms of price point, in terms of everything else that led up to it, in terms of the fact of the marketing partnerships that they made, which we will absolutely talk about. I think
we almost forgot about that one.
I don't think that Sega itself has a lot of confidence in this product enough to allow them to justify the idea of more DLC, especially DLC where they have to create another character that potentially has its own play style and its own levels.
Well, we'll see, I guess.
I feel like if, let me put it this way. If before release we hear something alluding to a season pass, then sure. But I think if we don't hear anything prior to release, then it's not happening.
Well, I don't know. A lot of people have this rule where you cannot talk about season passes until after the game comes out. So, who knows?
Sega's not the company to go against that rule. Like, they're not going to say. I think Sega's in a financial position where it would make sense to talk about it, because despite the fact that people are critical of that practice, people do buy into it. People do get excited about it. I frickin' bought the Legend of Zelda dual pack of DLC whenever they announced it, the same day I got the game. So
I waited a couple of months, but yeah. Like I personally don't care about any of that stuff, and my roommate Cory, he loves season passes, but I don't know, maybe.
Unfortunately, consumers are not pro-consumer. It's a weird thing. It's a weird thing to say, but we live in an age where consumers don't necessarily act in their best interest anymore. No,
that's very true. Now, one final news on Sonic Forces that came out of Tokyo Game Show.
Hooters!
Yeah, cross promotion with Hooters of Japan, of all things.
I meant to research this because they were in the Sonic Stadium chat. They're talking about how like Hooters isn't the same in Japan as it is here.
Here's okay.
Hooters is not the same in the U.S. as when it originally came out.
Oh,
I mean, see. It's practically a family restaurant now. I mean,
okay, really? I'm going to stop you there because I'm going to emphasize a very important part of this. The restaurant is named Hooters.
Right.
Regardless of what they believe they actually are, or whatever type of audience that they think that they should be getting, if they actually authentically wanted to be the family restaurant, one, you wouldn't have the two women in the traditional Hooters tank top standing up there right next to Sonic. And you wouldn't name your damn restaurant Hooters if you're a family restaurant. I'm not saying there aren't families.
No, I'm not saying it's a family restaurant. I'm saying it almost practically is.
Okay. I'm not saying there aren't families that wouldn't, as a whole, be into that type of thing. I'm just saying that a family in which all the members are into that are going to be pretty rare. The problem I have... The thing I have with this is that they have other partnerships with other brands in Japan. When I think of something like Hooters, which I try not to that often, often as I can, I think of this is something that they could do with Yakuza. Because Hooters is effectively the...
Hooters would be perfect for Yakuza.
Oh, yeah, that very much so.
Because it's effectively... And I'm kind of sort of stealing this from a stream last night. Sharon McNulty is a streamer / critic / developer that I like and follow, so I will at least give her credit for that. She basically said, Hooters is the American equivalent of a Japanese-made cafe type thing.
Really? Huh.
So, I mean, if you think about it, yes. Or either a maid cafe or like a, what's the thing in Yakuza where...
Hostess
Club, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Like that's the type of thing we're looking at. So, again, if they are looking to be this family-friendly thing, they can't have that name and be the family-friendly thing. That 2 and 2 don't go together there. But why that with Sonic?
I don't know. Like, Sega's been making a couple of weird partnerships lately. Like, remember that Totino's? I know this isn't like Hooters. This ain't nearly as weird as Hooters. But still, like, Aaron wouldn't shut up about Totino's during that last Sonic Boom event. And boy, was it just weird.
Like frickin' Hatsune Miku. As much as I don't want to put those two things in my head at the same time, it makes more sense for that than it would with frickin' Sonic. In Sonic, it's all animals. And don't give me any crap about there being an owl in Hooters, because whenever anyone thinks of that restaurant, they don't think of the dumb owl mascot.
But Chris, what you're not seeing is the most sexualized character in Sonic is a bat. And what is a bat vaguely similar to? an owl, because they're both nocturnal flying creatures that feed on small rodents.
Okay, first off, she's not a freaking bat. Bats don't have their wings on the back like they're freaking Sephiroth. They have them attached to the arms. I don't know what the hell she is, but not a bat.
By that logic, none of the animals are what they say they are, Chris. I already told you about how Knuckles ain't no goddamn echidna.
That's not fair. Echidnas have naturally growing dreadlocks.
I guess the appropriate would be like a succubus mouse. Like she's a Morrigan from Darkstalkers crossed with a mouse.
Okay, we're getting into territory I'm not comfortable with now.
Rouge the Bat, Chris.
And also, we have the episode title because, God damn you, Jason, Succubus Mouse.
In any case, like, yeah, the Hooters thing is definitely by far, I think, the weirdest Sonic promotional thing they've ever done.
But they freaking have KFC that's associated with Phantasy Star. They freaking got the Colonel as a character. Like,
I forgot about that.
Like, I don't know, freaking give me Colonel Sanders' beard and tie options for my create a character. Why do you have Hooters?
Does this mean some of the clothing options?
I have an idea.
The creative characters will have these tight Hooters T-shirts that you can put on the female characters now.
No. What it means is that you can change the breast size on the female characters in this game.
It's like Dead or Alive, where you have to put age 99 and
it's like
the characters running along with Sonic. Their breasts are bouncing up and down like that.
It's like the character creator in Xenoblade Chronicles X, so we're probably not going to get it in America. But it's going to be there in Japan.
God damn it, Alex. Xenoblade Chronicles X is going to be more censored than Sonic Forces. I hate you so much.
In any case, I mean, I guess they could have teamed up. I don't know much about Japanese. I don't know much about popular restaurants in Japan, but they probably could have just done, I don't know, McDonald's or something.
I gotta agree with the KFC thing, because every time I see things from Japan, there's always like a KFC, like a Colonel statue somewhere. And I know KFC is a big part of Japan, so that would have made more sense.
You have all these freaking costume things for the characters as your pre-order bonus. Freaking let me dress up as Colonel Sanders or the Burger King or
Ronald McDonald. Come on, it's so obvious.
Or as whatever convenience store thing that you want me to. I don't freaking anything other than this thing that doesn't actually have any synergy between the two brands.
Look, can I just be honest? So long as at the next Sonic Boom event, Aaron isn't forced to hawk Hooters stuff every 10 minutes.
Okay, you sold me. You sold me.
Wait, what?
If it makes Aaron Weber do that, then sure. But he has to do that, and there can't be any women around him. And it has to be him, and at some point he has to say, I just really like the hot wings.
Aaron?
And he has to be in a Hooters T-shirt the whole time. That's tied at the midriff the whole time he's talking.
But honestly, I found that the Totino's thing to be more egregious, just because even though it was just a pizza roll or something, it was just like, I don't know, this parasite on this otherwise fun event.
Yeah, that was just weird.
Yeah.
Well, let's finally end our Sonic Forces discussion, which has been
so
insane.
Since we have a listener and someone participating in the chat, I'm going to say this, and I feel bad about saying this, but I feel bad, and I feel like other people need to feel bad too. Klexioshi in the chat says, Sega announces a partnership with Intelligent Systems for Sonic Skinship. I hate my life. I hate everything that led up to this moment.
I'm not sure what Sonic Skinship. I'm not sure what skin. Wait.
I don't understand that entire sentence.
Let's keep moving.
I think I kind of remember what Skinship is.
Keep moving.
Come on.
Don't
no,
look back. Don't look back.
Jason, you know what that is?
I don't know. It's not like that makeup kit thing that they had during San Diego Comic-Con where it was a face mask that was Sonic related.
I'm Googling this.
That's another weird one. Sonic has the weirdest damn crossover.
Okay, apparently, Skinship is a Japan thing. And
Flex Yoshi, I am not explaining this to him. I am not.
Yes, we're not explaining this, but okay. I'm just gonna go away now and just press this X and okay. Now, okay. So apparently that's a thing.
Anyway, Bill Frieberger is leaving leaving Sonic Boom for other projects now. And
Sly Cooper, right?
Maybe. Oh no, that was. I was gonna get. God dang it! I was gonna get to that. That's my theory. That's my theory is that because it's the same animation studio that's doing did Sonic Boom is doing Sly Cooper. I figured that's where he was going to possibly.
I'm sorry, Jason.
I was gonna wait on that.
I thought that was like I thought I heard that in like actual news or something.
No, that was just my theory that I came up with.
Okay.
And so basically, do you think, and then this is what I think, that this means the end of Sonic Boom as a series, and we're not getting a season 3?
Oh, I didn't think this was the end of Sonic Boom. I think everything, all regarding season 2, was the end of Sonic Boom. Like that, I think Sega's complete abandonment of that spin-off franchise was the end of Sonic Boom.
Yeah, I hate to say this because season 2 has been so much better than season 1, and I'd love to see what they do with the third season, but I guess don't see it happening.
Yeah, I mean, basically, Bill Frieberger leaving is pretty much a nail in the coffin, and even though they cannot, contractually confirm that, I'm sure, but it's pretty obvious that that's where we're going.
One frustrating thing about
he was the executive producer, and he voiced at least 2 of the returning characters that were constantly there.
Oh boy!
So there's no way there's a season 3 without him there.
Well, just because he's left production doesn't mean he can't still pop in to do voice work. But there's like so much else that points to this to season 3 not happening, as Chris has said. Like it has been abandoned by everybody involved.
The problem is, I look at this and I kind of look at what Sega's potential aspirations were for this, and I think they were seriously hoping this could be some sort of multimedia franchise for them to have the toys and the games and the cartoons. But whenever that first initial game just exploded from them, and to be fair, I don't know what went on for the development, but I will blame Sega's business practices for a lot of that problem, and especially their agreement with Nintendo. But I think whenever that imploded, that set the tone for everything that followed, and it didn't matter how good the cartoon was, because that's not what people were thinking about.
Even today, when people talk about Sonic Boom, they talk about how horrible the games were, especially Rise of Lyric.
No, they talk about how horrible one game was, because ain't nobody played those DS games, 3DS games.
Yeah, although in fairness, the first DS game wasn't really all that good either. Like I honestly preferred the Wii U game to that.
I really did like Fire and Ice quite a bit, but the Shadow Crystal was very, very meh.
Yeah.
And Rise of Lyric is just so glitchy and just ruined whatever reputation they were trying to build for that.
And if I were in Sega's place and I had this series which Cartoon Network has relegated to a whole different channel
that no one has,
pretty much Cartoon Network buried that series completely.
Right. If I'm Sega, I don't see business motivation to keep it going. Like even especially considering the fact that, as much as I love to try to forget this, we have a movie coming next year.
No,
I doubt it'll come out next year. I don't even think it's in production.
I heard it was delayed until 2019, but I just
can we just keep delaying it and delaying it and delaying it until it basically either falls off the face of the earth, or we get an anime studio to do it.
Or like, I don't know, DreamWorks might be able to do something with it. Like,
or if it's completely CG and not live action at all.
They can be kind of hit and miss.
Or
it better just be all CG.
And bear with me on this one.
Anime.
Here's my ideal scenario. It's by a studio that specializes in combining the CG with live action in Japan. Because we know how well things look whenever Japan does the combined live action with CG.
Okay, I know you're being sarcastic right now because that all looks like shit.
It does, but I absolutely would rather see that. That is the style. That is a style I would absolutely watch.
I will say Shin Godzilla did a pretty good job at that.
Why are you so mean to us? I'm
not mean to you. I'm mean to this movie.
Why do you want bad things to happen to
He's mean to the movie that doesn't exist yet.
When the movie comes out and it's bad, it's gonna be humiliating for every
Alex.
person.
Here's the thing. There's a nice kind of grade of how things could be. And if something's like right down the middle, or something's just slightly down the middle that it's not entertaining to watch, who cares? But if it's really good or really bad, that's at least entertaining.
So what you're telling me is that the Emoji Movie is entertaining.
It's entertaining that it exists and that other people have watched it. It's not entertaining in such a way that I'll ever watch it, but it's entertaining that other people have done it.
What you basically want is something like The Room or Neo Yokio, which I don't think
absolutely. Hey, if I want something like The Room and anything, then you've sold me. Like I would absolutely watch the Emoji Movie if Riff Tracks was involved with it.
So no. So I thought you were gonna. So have either of you heard about Neo Yokio?
That I have not. I've heard of the live action Death Note and all the response to that, and not the old one, which is probably what I want out of a Sonic movie. But
have you seen the nightmare that is the Woody Woodpecker movie trailer?
No,
that I guess is only coming out in Puerto Rico or whatever.
Oh my!
Where he's perfect market for a Woody
literally.
Movie.
I think it's Spain. It's Spain. I'm sorry.
Okay, that makes way more sense in Puerto Rico.
Well, he's doing this funny scene where he's electrocuting one of this other human, and he's just laughing about it.
Yeah, that sounds like Woody Woodpecker.
You've really got to see that trailer. It's just insane.
When I think of Woody Woodpecker, I think of personal torture.
Hey, I wonder, like, I've been posting this around, but I don't think either of you guys have clicked it. Have you seen the one where Sonic tortures Robotnik with electricity, and it's like an ice pop commercial?
I have no clue what the heck you're talking about.
Oh my god!
You put that on our Skypes, and I've seen it before. Yeah.
I gotta show that to you. Anyway, we went way off track. What were we?
Yeah, we were talking about Sonic Boom, which I'm surprised still has new merchandise coming out every once in a while.
Oh, really?
It does? Like
they
what?
put out the vehicle, the 3-wheeled vehicle that Sonic was driving around with early in the season, and Knuckles in the spacesuit along with Sonic in his spacesuits, and I guess they put out some more of the robots, but they only come in like 2 packs. They're really hard to find too. But they also put them alongside Tomy also puts out a lot of the classic Sonic figures that look just like the ones that Jazzwares or whoever did release. They look just like those.
So basically, they made the show more toyetic.
Yeah, the season 2, the beginning of season 2 is very toyetic, which surprised me. Is not only Toys R Us selling them now, but Kmart. Although who has a Kmart around them anymore?
I used to have 2. They're gone now.
I have 1 here in West Covina. We used to have 4 near me. Now we're down to 1.
I think my childhood home in Virginia might still have one, but
I think I've been to the one in your childhood home in Virginia, and it is basically a garage with aisles.
Oh my god,
that sounds like Kmart. Yeah. Anyway, focusing back on Sonic Boom, they've released 2 new episodes recently. One I think is better than the other, despite the fact that the other has a big name Sonic guest star in it.
Big name Sonic guest star, yeah.
Well, but big name as in it has a character from the video games that hasn't been in the show before.
Vector the crocodile.
Vector the crocodile. Which, I guess we'll talk about that one first since we're on the topic, and it's pretty good. I like what they did with Vector himself. He's actually fairly confident. I actually dig his character design. I like the little jacket. I'm not too sure about the tattoo and everything, but my main problem is Vector's also kind of a dumb cornball in the both in Sonic X and in the games a little bit, and I kind of miss that part of him.
I don't.
It's nice for him to be confident, but I think he's a little too confident in that he doesn't have like a good. He doesn't have humor to his character in this.
Given that this show has Knuckles, I welcome a bit of I welcome a bit of competence as a character trait. Like
I do like the fact that he kind of talks like an old timey detective.
I like the fact that his voice doesn't grate my ears to mush. His voice actor is pretty solid. It's way better than that.
I think it's the same Vector, but it's the same guy who does Vector in the games, but he's playing him much more calmly.
But is it the same Vector who did the games during like Shadow the Hedgehog?
No, that voice cast was completely replaced.
Like I said,
Sonic Free Riders came out. Sonic Free Riders have the voice actors for every character, as far as the brand new ones.
I would say my biggest criticism of this episode is, and the way that they've approached Vector, is the same criticism that I might have had whenever they had the episode with Shadow. And basically, it's that for as much as they're willing to take the creative risk with their own characters and the core 4 characters that they've developed, they don't seem to be willing to take that same creative risk in developing these other characters that they're bringing in from the game. And I don't know if it's just a matter of the time that they've taken or if they have more limitations on them that they have to get certain things approved, but it just feels like he isn't as over the top as some of the other characters were. And even Shadow had that same issue, is that it doesn't feel like he is a character. And there's even been characters... I kind of like how that
works. Sorry for interrupting. I kind of actually like how that works with Shadow in this series, because it feels like he does not fit in at all, and he doesn't like being there almost.
Shadow in that episode is a punchline.
Shadow. My favorite Shadow line is, your weak attempts at building furniture is an insult to Hedgehog kind, or something like that.
Oh my god!
And it's like he sees this really silly situation, and he's still taking it dead seriously the whole time.
He's Vegeta in Seinfeld.
That's kind of it. He's Vegeta,
which is another episode title for you.
It doesn't really fit, but it makes it funnier because he doesn't fit into this series at all.
Whereas Vector, I think, is a character that they could actually do a lot more with, based on how he naturally is. And he's not the same type of doof as Knuckles is in this.
No, he's a lot more confident. But I also think he does fit in this world a little better. You can see him as a villager here.
Yeah.
Compared to Shadow.
He does feel like a character that could have been in the background the whole time doing his own TV show nonsense. Which I like that they went that angle with him instead of just making him a straight up detective. You know, they basically took Vector and turned him into one of those ghost. I forget what they call them. Ghost hunter guys.
He acts more like a noir detective from back in the day. He's even got some. I forget exactly what he says, but he has these like little catchphrases. He says like a big palooka or whatever.
Yeah. But I guess enjoyed his character and hope we get him one more time before the season. I
found out it was once again one of those things where it's a good story without a lot of humor, or that's the way with Sonic Boom is. It's either got a lot of humor and a weak story, or it's got a good story and not a lot of humor.
Although
I think
there
this
were
one was more of a good story and not a lot of humor.
Like I'm not gonna be able to summarize this because I'm very bad telling jokes. But the bit where like Sonic's complaining about how long it takes to
for the stakeout, and
yes,
because it's not like TV where you just say 2 lines and then the guy just shows up and he goes, "Oh wait, there he is."
nice little joke there. Yeah, Chris.
I wasn't so much into it, if only because the fact that he was he was a bit more bland than I expect from that show, and it felt like the core conflict was supposed to be between Sonic being the attention hog and him coming in kind of being the person who could actually do things in this situation.
Yeah.
And that conflict, them finding a way to work together and being resolved, and I felt like it didn't really go anywhere in a satisfying way.
I'll be honest, I haven't seen this episode in weeks.
I can kind of see where you're going with
fuzzy on it. But
it had a mystery that got solved.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like the actual point of the conflict was ever actually resolved
properly. Yeah, I can see what you're talking about there. The only other problem is it's another. Amy's having her hammer missing and feel like she's nothing without her hammer. It's exactly the same little plot device that happened in one of the Sonic Boom issues that came out in the comic book. So it's kind of weird that they, used that again, but only this time it's from different writers, of course. And it could be that they just didn't have that kind of communication or whatever. The other one I actually kind of liked because I like the way that they kind of mocks the social media aspect.
Oh, man.
Chain Letter.
Chain Letter is one of if not my favorite episodes of the season because it has some of the best humor that I've seen in this show and some of the most consistent humor.
It's probably the best Eggman.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
And part of that is like just how over the top the whole thing is. Like I can summarize this plot very, very quickly. Like Eggman gets a chain letter. He doesn't have any friends to send it to. He can't make any friends on social media. And so he makes his own social media network. It becomes super huge. Everyone's on it. And he specifically bans Sonic from it to spite him. And after Eggman has friended Sonic and then unfriended Sonic, he just blows up the whole social network, and that's the end of it.
Yeah, he just destroys the whole network, even though it was successful.
It's like it just goes to the core of the insanity of Eggman at his best. He'll go through all of this trouble over a small personal slight just to get back at them.
And I'm like, oh, how do I make this website? I guess, and Horvath and Keyboard are like, oh, just do one where you can only do like 2 or 3 sentences to express your political opinions, and then people can communicate back in the most minimalistic way, like in an emoji or something.
But Chris, what did you think of it?
It was a really solid episode. I thought it was hilarious. I think some of their commentary can get a little bit over the top sometimes, but I felt like it worked well with how they established Eggman as a character and the type of comedy that they associate with him. And like it was just kind of an entertaining character look at who he is and kind of his relationship with everything going on in town.
Yeah, like he's finally waking up to the fact that everyone pretty much hates him, and there's a reason that he has no friends, And
although it's been one in a string of episodes have kind of shown that like there's almost like sort of a one-sided admiration between Eggman and Sonic. This is something I think the show has been showing for a while, but was made most apparent here. And I just find that dynamic to be kind of interesting because they've never really done something like that in a Sonic story before.
Like I said, I think whenever whenever I see this, I kind of almost look at it as like, this is a sitcom. This is very much a show that is a sitcom.
Well,
and it's an over-the-top, silly kids cartoon sitcom, but it's a sitcom. They have fluid relationships that are kind of weird, that occasionally have a scheme involved. It's a sitcom about superheroes. And they kind of treat it like that.
Yeah, I mean, even the village is just used to him being the living off the island, making their lives miserable, and then the next day they just go back to everything, back to normal for.
I still can't believe
he's
he's subject to the homeowners association. But so, anything else to discuss regarding these episodes?
That's pretty much it. I mean, that was the last 2 new ones. I think they've had a few reruns lately. They're kind of stretching out that final season as much as they can.
So,
well, it's not that they're stretching out. It's that some of the episodes aren't ready because they've been just mass producing these episodes. You know,
but before
it's only 11-minute cartoons, but they've been doing them once a week for almost a full year now. Before
we wrap up, I feel like we should kind of talk about what our next episode is probably going to be about.
Yeah,
and that's, Archie comics, right?
Yeah, as long as we do one before Sonic Forces come out. I think our next one will be about the end of Archie comics. We're waiting until we find out, you know, what's going to happen with Sonic and IDW, which we'll find out at the next New York Comic Con.
IDW
We're going to discuss that heavily.
IDW is specifically going to be talking about this stuff on October 8th, and I feel like we feel like it'll be like a nice way to bookend the whole thing.
Yeah, it doesn't look like Ian Flynn's going back on Sonic, considering he's still with Archie and he's doing like 1 or 2 other comics now.
Archie. It wouldn't be too unusual for a writer to work for multiple publishers, especially.
I mean, yeah, he is freelance. It's hard to say because he is freelance, and there's times where he's done up to like 4 books at once.
Is he associated with the current Crusaders series?
Crusaders and this neat little thing called Cosmo.
Okay.
Which is based off of a comic book that was almost going to get made like a couple years ago, but I think like got canceled or something.
Yeah, and then they brought it back again. It's based off of a really old Archie comic series from like the 40s.
Well, I can still hold hope because Mega Man is still on hiatus.
You're funny. I mean, I guess technically this is under their Archie Action label, which I think Cosmo's the only thing under the Archie Action label right now, as far as I know.
Well, you mean the Crusaders?
Really? That's under Archie Action? Huh.
Well, it would be. It's a superhero book.
Well, that stuff's like typically been under like a Red Circle imprint or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that might be under Red Circle. Yeah, sorry.
But yeah, technically the label that Mega Man and Sonic were under still exists, so who knows? Excuse me. But yeah, hopefully we'll be able to talk about it later this month. I still need to finish the series. I kind of don't want to because, you know, once I've been reading these comic books off and on for like 20 years, and once I read these, it'll be it.
I want to go out on one little thing because I just remembered, what the heck is this with this thing? I think it was Azuka that was talking about that. Knack the Weasel, is it technically a weasel?
Oh,
He's like a kangaroo rat now?
No. I think it's a weasel wolf.
Like, yeah. Something like that.
I can see him being some kind of marsupial because he does bounce on his tail like a kangaroo at times.
I mean, keep in mind that whenever he's not even Knack per se, he's Fang. And there's a lot of things that we kind of do and don't know based on what they were originally intended to be in Japanese. And he's been gone for so long that a lot of that information is either lost or not well kept up with or poorly documented. Who knows?
The other thing that's kind of driving me nuts is they're considering being a woodpecker now instead of a duck when he's based off the 2 characters from a video game called Dynamite Ducks.
Yeah.
And he looks exactly like those characters.
I'm just going to keep calling him a duck personally. Like, I mean, he's called Bean the Dynamite anyway, so it's not like his bird species has really been all that official anyway.
I have a counter argument to that.
Oh, God damn it.
When the hell are we actually going to see those characters ever again?
Well, hopefully,
Sonic Mania. We just saw him in Sonic Mania, kind of.
Yeah, but Iizuka didn't make Sonic Mania. I think he just oversaw it, and I can bet you it wasn't his decision to put those characters in.
Well, I'm sure they still had to get approval from him. So I don't know.
I did recently play Dynamite Ducks for the first time. That's
given how well received
kind of an interesting game.
Cross our fingers, but yeah, you're right. Like we're probably not going to see them in a big 3D game anytime soon.
No, I doubt that. Anyway, I think that's going to wrap it up for us. It's been a pretty good discussion since we didn't have a lot of topics, but we sure kept it going on Sonic Forces. Want to thank you for listening. Is there anything you guys wanted to promote while I'm here?
There is a little thing. So I'm sure y'all are familiar with what's been going on in Puerto Rico. And I guess thought I'd suggest a donation link if you would like to donate to their hurricane relief. You can donate at HispanicFederation.org/Unidos, and in the your information section, just choose Puerto Rico hurricane in regards to where you want your gift to go. That's all for me. Chris?
And I am not as inclined as that, and I feel bad about it, but I'm just going to say it anyway.
I guess I should have gone second. Sorry.
DuckTales has started in...
God damn it.
DuckTales has effectively started as a series, and I'm really freaking enjoying it so far.
Oh, yeah. DuckTales has been great. It has been a...
So, watch the new DuckTales series. It's great.
Okay, and that's going to do it from us. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Should I have spelled Unidos? U-N-I-D-O-S?
U-N-I-D-O-S?
S-U-C-U-B-U-S.
I know how to
spell
it. I'm just wondering if I should have spelled it out because my Spanish, I don't know.